All right, welcome to the Solid Waste Center Lunch and Learn. And today we're going to be talking about compost and recycling and how we can do better at it and diversion. So thank you all for coming. It shows me you guys really care. Facilities really cares because they're getting hit with fines for recycling contamination. So Mike is glad you're here. So we'll kick it off with our super duper video. All right, if that doesn't make you want to recycle, I don't know what will. So to introduce myself, I'm Cathy Hall. I'm the solid waste manager, and this is... should I talk like this? Okay.
Hi, I'm Liz Morrow. I'm the Environmental Compliance Specialist for Pitkin County Landfill.
So we're going to talk about recycling first, then get into composting, and we'll take questions at the end. Hopefully we're going to answer some frequently asked questions, but we'll hold questions to the end. This is being recorded. Be made available to other county employees who couldn't make it or the public as well. So we're going to get started on recycling, the state of recycling. It's gotten very difficult. Everybody's read articles on China. We're into some of the China stuff. Waste Management now is the largest hauler in the country, or largest waste management company in the country that does recycling. So they service they service the county, and they service a lot of residents and businesses in the valley. They're starting to crack down. I'm getting a lot of calls from condo associations. Homeowners are like, Waste Management fined me $10 for contamination. So hopefully we'll clear up today kind of what is going on. But about a year ago, a little over a year ago, China announced the green sword. They're always very dramatic about these things. So they said, we're not taking any more of your recycling, plastics and scrap paper, because it's contaminated. You have to send it to us at 0.5% contamination. To give you an idea, Pitkin County at our recycling centers, we're at 8% contamination. And that in the world of recycling and single stream is phenomenal, but not good enough for China. So you can see this is from Waste Management. So about January 2017, we were shipping about 270,000 tons of mixed paper and plastics to China. Yes, that's where most of our stuff went. It's astounding. People are like, wow, do we really ship everything all the way to China? Yes, we do. But about a year ago, China said, we're not taking it anymore unless you can get to 0.5% contamination. So you can see from January 2017 to March 2018, that's what it went to. And it's probably even lower today. So then we shifted everything to other Asian countries, Thailand, India, everything like that, and now they're starting to say, no, we were shipping them garbage. I don't blame China. It was garbage. Then they would have to deal with it and dispose of it in their landfill systems. So China said enough. So that's the status of it and why we're harping so much now on contamination and recycling right. So this is from Waste Management as well. The graph shows, it might be kind of hard to see from where you're sitting, you see the real uptick in contamination. For every ton of recyclables we ship them, there are 450 pounds of contamination, of trash in that recycling. They have to get it down to less than 10 pounds for every ton to meet China's standards. That's more people, it's more equipment. Now the uptake didn't happen, we just didn't get really lazy and get dirty with our recycling. That contamination's always been there. About a year ago, they started to have to clean it more. That's why you see the real uptick. Again, it's more people, it's getting really expensive. Our recycling from the county goes from here all the way down to Denver to be sorted and processed. At the landfill, to transfer out of the landfill recycling, it's $76 a ton. It's more than trash. The Rio Grande, the recycling center at the Rio Grande, which is in the paper today, Aspen's trying to figure out what they want to do with it, it's $286 a ton. So recycling is not cheap. And we're going to get into a little bit pushing more reduce, reuse, refuse, and then recycle. But we'll get into that in a little bit. How can we help? The biggest problem is what we call wishful or mythical recycling. There's things we so want to be recycled that if I put it in this bin, something will happen to it. Well, that's not always the case. So big contaminants that we see, styrofoam's a big one. A lot of styrofoam, if you buy a new TV, will be stamped with a recycle symbol, the little chasing arrows with the number in the middle. I'm going to tell you there's a secret to that. That isn't necessarily a recycle symbol. It's what's called a resin identification code. And that just tells the recyclers who's sorting it what kind of plastic it is. Doesn't mean it can be recycled. Plastic bags is another one. And there's a slide coming up that'll show you the problems plastic bags cause. I see a lot of single-use coffee cups from the to-go coffee thrown in a recycle bin. Well, it's got to be recyclable. It's not. Don't do it. With the tops, again, you see the little recycle symbol on there with a number. It's not. It's a low-quality plastic. That's just a resin identification code. The cup, nope. Unless it's, we have special cups back there that you've seen around the county that we buy. They're not plastic lined or wax lined, so they're trash. The Dixie plates, the common paper plates we buy at a supermarket, those also have a microplastic coating. They're not even compostable. Not recyclable, not compostable, trash. Single-use plastic cutlery, again, trash. And we'll go a little bit, I'm going to pick on plastics a little bit later. Straws, yes? Those are usually paper that can be composted. I would use that in the compost system before the recycle system, because again, mixed paper. Oh, sorry, thank you. We're going to repeat the question. The question was the paper hand holder to keep your hand from burning on a hot cup. Those are most likely compostable. If they're not, if you don't see a glossy coating or anything on them, it can go in the compost. It can go in the paper as well, but again, mixed paper is a real problem for us in the United States. There's nowhere to go with it. So, and then straws. We hear a lot about straws. Straws are terrible. We use 500 million straws a day in the United States. So, and they're not recyclable. If Pat Bingham was here, every time I see her, she brings up the turtle with the straw in its nose. We all seen that picture. That really bothers Pat Bingham. So, so yeah, these are just kind of wishful recycling that you really want to keep in mind. It may have that little chasing arrow symbol on it. It's not necessarily recyclable. I had a gentleman call me last year. His hauler got mad at him, and he was like, the hauler yelled at me because I put styrofoam in. I said, well, it's not recyclable. Well, it has the symbol. I know it's not recyclable, but it has the symbol. I'm like, it's still not recyclable. Don't put it in. So yeah. This is Waste Management's top recycling contaminants. Again, that picture on the left, those two pictures on the left, those are plastic bags. A plastic bag will shut materials recovery or MRF system down. And these systems have to operate 18 hours a day to get enough volume so they can make money to sell commodities. So when plastic bags get tangled up in their equipment, it'll stop the plant completely. Food waste, food contamination. A few years ago, people would say, do I need to rinse the containers out? No, Waste Management would say, no, the recycle process will take care of it. It's not the case anymore. If you have a plastic food container, rinse it out. If you have a peanut butter jar, get it out and clean it out. Any residual food chunks have to come out of it. Propane canisters, they're explosive. Tanglers, hoses, rope, wire. The picture on the bottom right there, that shows a trash can, buckets, weird plastic things, plastic toys. A lot of those end up in the recycling stream. They're not, again, recyclable. They're really looking for plastic type of containers. And then apparently they get a lot of pythons in their system as well. If you've ever been to a materials recovery facility, it's a fascinating tour, but it is a hard job. They see some gross things. So not all recyclables are created equal. And I love this cartoon. It's from The Awkward Yeti. It's one of my favorite cartoons. And you can see the little banana peel. He's breaking down. He's saying goodbye to his friend, the plastic cup. The plastic cup remains. Every piece of recycling we've created since the 1950s still exists today. It doesn't go anywhere. So you may recycle that plastic cup. You may recycle that plastic bottle. You're just delaying the inevitable. This is a chart showing all the created plastics in the world, and we're at 2020, so we're not quite at the end. Only 9% of plastics worldwide get recycled. So that plastic cup or that plastic water bottle, you may recycle it. I have a sister I love dearly, but she always has bottled water. It drives me nuts. So I tell her, well, why are you doing that? She's like, but I recycle it. You know how expensive it is to recycle, how hard it is to recycle. That plastic water bottle is getting recycled. It's not coming back as a plastic water bottle. It's coming back as something of lower quality. It's coming back as that plastic bag, that cheap, flimsy plastic. There's no markets for that. Yeah, so when you're thinking about, oh, I'll recycle it, eventually it's going to end up in the landfill because it's going to get into a form that can't be recycled anymore. You've seen all the statistics in the oceans. We're going to have more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050. It's a real problem. We see on the news just recently there was a whale washed up on a beach with like 100 pounds of plastic waste in its stomach. It's a real problem. And again, it does not go away. So when you're thinking about plastic and when I'm buying something, maybe there's a better option. If you're driving on a road trip, you stop at a convenience store, want something to drink, go for an aluminum can. Aluminum cans are the greatest commodity value. They're recyclable nonstop. Yeah, that's the way to go. If you drink beer, drink it out of an aluminum can before glass. Glass can be recycled nonstop. Glass is again incredibly hard to recycle. They have to get it into certain colors. So there's all this processing equipment that sorts it into different colors. Very expensive process to do. So if you're buying a drink, try and go with the aluminum can if you so choose. So thanks to Skylar, he sent over some frequently asked questions about recycling and compost as well. I think the BITS group got together and so we pulled a few of them out here, and again, we'll answer questions at the end. Can crushed cans be recycled, or do they need to remain in cylinder form? You can squish up an aluminum can. Makes you feel good. I do it. It's like, the equipment anymore nowadays, they use air sorters, optical sorters. It blows it off. It's not a problem. Another thing is, if you are recycling that plastic bottle, Waste Management asks that you take the lid off. And why do they do that? They have decappers. If there's any liquid left in those plastic bottles, which a lot of time there are, the air sorters on the line can't take it off, and it just drops down into the trash. So take your lids off and empty liquids. Yes? An air sorter, the question is, what is an air sorter? So if you go to these recycling plants, again, they're huge Willy Wonka factories. They have optical things that recognize, oh, it's a clear plastic bottle. It sends a puff of air in like a microsecond and shoots that plastic bottle off in the direction it needs to go. I mean, it is flying. They do the same with glass, optical sorters. An optical sorter is taking glass, and when it arrives at the plant, it's pretty much crushed up. It'll fling off all these different colors of plastic. So it's all automated now, and millions of dollars in equipment and sorters. If recycling is in a plastic garbage bag, does it ruin the bunch and make it all end up in the landfill? Depends on your hauler. Waste Management has lost patience with it. They're not going to go through your recycling. It's time is money for them. They have to get around to all these hundreds of houses a day. They're not going to empty your plastic bag. They're going to toss it in the trash. And if it ends up in your plastics or in your recycle bin, they may end up charging you a fee, which is happening to us, Pitkin County, and a lot of other people. So what I do at home, I have a 13-gallon garbage can. I've lined it with a plastic bin, but I just take it out and just dump it. I've reused that plastic bag for like 2 years now. So yeah, I've emptied it out of the plastic bags. Don't risk it. Do all cans have to be washed out to be recyclable? If the can had liquid, if it had beer or soda in it, not necessarily. You may want to do it if you're drinking beer and had a party, so your recycle bin or closet doesn't smell like Bourbon Street in July. If you ever been to New Orleans and Bourbon Street in July, you know what it smells like. Food cans, tin cans, and all that with like beans or food waste in there, rinse that out. Get all the visible chunky stuff out. Give it a quick rinse. Do recyclables that aren't washed out still end up in the landfill? Yep, now they will. So again, waste management's going through the line, any processing facility going through the line, it's getting knocked out to trash because China right now will not touch it, and they will ship it back. They're actually shipping bales of material from China back to the US. They get denied at the port, and they ship it back probably at the cost of the recycler who sent it. So. Yeah, question.
I have a question. I always heard that soup cans and cans of like beans and those kind of cans were not recyclable. Are they now?
They are recyclable. So any soup cans, the steel tin cans, they are recyclable. Just rinse them out. They actually have a very high recycle value. So they're always they're one of the good things to recycle.
The lids that come off too?
Yes. So it's made of the same material, the lids on these tin or aluminum or steel cans. I just rinse off and tuck into the can. It saves potential for somebody getting cut on the line somewhere. Paper label can stay on. Typically, if it's easy to tear off, I'll tear off. There was another thing I get half and half in a plastic bottle, I know. But they have a plastic wrap around it. You can now have to peel that plastic wrap off. Yes, yeah. So if you read on the container really closely, it says remove plastic wrap before recycling. Some beer cans, some local breweries are using aluminum cans wrapped in a plastic wrap. Yeah, take it off. You got to take it off. It ruins the recycle value. So keep that in mind. I know it's getting so hard and tricky. Aluminum foil that has food on it has been cooked or in the trash. If you can clean off that piece of aluminum foil, it's perfectly recyclable. If it has baked on food and everything, in the trash. So that's the theme. Any food, any cooked on food, any chunks of material, get it out. And then do plastic lids need to be removed from containers? Yes, again, that's to keep liquid out of them. A lot of people just throw a half full plastic drink bottle in, make sure the liquid's emptied out, and then you can put the lid back on or decap it. They'll decap it, just throw it in the recycle bin as well. It's also recyclable, just they don't want it together. And this, I'm gonna hand over to Liz, our composting specialist. Yeah, sure.
So I have a recycle question first. So in our recycle bin, recycle bins up in our office, we're putting our recyclables in a plastic bag.
I know. Yeah. So the cleaning people, it's included in the cleaning, and hopefully the cleaning people are getting more training, that they'll take it when they're taking it down to the recycle bin out back, that they're just emptying the bag. Yeah, I think Mike, you've gotten them on board.
Yeah, until about 2 weeks ago, we did not realize that plastic bags containing recyclable were no-no. So all my team are now cutting the bags open and dumping them into the recycled containers. But I noticed the jail is still having a little issue with that, so I need to go over and educate them again. But pretty much.
Jail used to be so good, and Don Bird left, and.
All right, you guys ready to transition to talking about some compost? We can go back to more recycling questions at the end too, because I'm sure you guys have a lot more questions. So we've definitely established that recycling is difficult. Not only is it difficult, but imagine all the carbon, fuel, and hours and equipment use that goes into transporting it around and around the world, basically in laps. This is one reason why we like composting so much as a diversion. Because if we compost materials, that material, instead of then cycling in this massive loop perpetually back and forth to Asia or other continents, it will stay local and it won't ever leave here again. It will go into landscaping projects and construction projects right here in the valley. So we like composting because when we buy something, it then just goes right down the street to the landfill, gets composted, and gets used. And the carbon footprint on that is going to be a lot smaller than shipping your recycling to China. We do want to always emphasize that even though we like composting a lot as a diversion, reusable is still always the best. And we really are encouraging people strongly to get away from all single-use items. Obviously, even in this meeting, you know, a lot of times for parties and stuff, it's just not practical. So we urge people to go with compostable when you need something single-use, but for your own personal life, like at home, storing your leftovers, things you buy, we're really urging people to try to minimize the packaging. Because even compost, even though it's great, it does have a significant carbon footprint too. It costs the landfill about $30 per ton to produce compost, and a lot of that cost is due to running diesel-powered equipment. So of course we want to minimize that as well. All right. So other than transportation and logistics, let's talk about some other reasons why we like composting so much. The landfill did a waste composition study a few years ago and found out that a pretty significant portion of the material going into the landfill was organic waste, which when it goes into the landfill, it decomposes anaerobically, meaning without oxygen. And when that happens, it creates methane, which is a greenhouse gas I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that's 4 times more powerful. Is that right, 4 times? Yeah, maybe. Oh, 30 times? Okay, see? Thanks, Cathy. That's why I'm asking you. Yeah, so it's much more powerful than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. So, you know, we don't want organic waste to go into the landfill because we don't want them to take up space. But really, in the big picture, the space is the smaller part of it, and the gases that are going to be put off by them going into the landfill are the bigger part of it. So if we put all this organic waste into compost piles instead of into the landfill, it's getting oxygen and it's decomposing out there in the open with aerobic bacteria using oxygen, and it will put off carbon dioxide and it will turn into compost, but it will not put off harmful gases like methane and hydrogen sulfide. So we like that a lot. Okay, so let's go over some things that we can compost. We can, in our system, a lot of people have heard rumors about things you can't compost. And those come from things you can't compost maybe in your backyard pile. So in our system, the piles get up to about 160 degrees internally, all just on their own due to bacterial activity. So we can compost stuff that you might not be able to break down at home. Things like any type of food, eggshells, pizza boxes that are greasy, even meat and bones, coffee filters for sure, single-use compostable products you might purchase. A really good rule of thumb is, did it grow? If it grew, you can compost it, including snakes, if they're dead. We only accept them if they're dead. Let's see. Frequent compost questions people have. Yes, paper towels are compostable, always. Can paper towels with chemicals on them be composted? Yes. I would say any household chemicals you're using to clean, it's not going to be bad enough to affect our system. You can throw that in the compost. Do produce stickers on fruits and vegetables need to be removed and placed in the trash? Yeah, they do. Yeah, it is. Those are, you know, they're small little pieces of plastic. If one did get in the compost, you know, it's not the end of the world. It wouldn't hurt the system, but that is small enough that it would make it through our final screen, and then that could end up in someone's compost that they're buying, and that wouldn't be very nice. Is wax paper compostable? Aha. All right. So let's get into some discussion about wax paper and gas station coffee cups. So wax paper is compostable. The big problem here is that in this day and age, a lot of stuff that looks like waxed paper or looks like a waxed paper product is actually lined with plastic, not wax. So in order to compost it, you should know where it came from. Like if it's something you bought for your own personal use and you know it's wax paper, definitely compost it. If you are not sure where it came from, it might be lined with plastic. So a good example is gas station coffee cups. We see a lot of that in the compost because they're paper and they look like they're lined with wax, but actually they're lined with plastic. So they don't really break down in the compost, and that plastic will never break down. So those kind of cups should always go in the trash. Okay, back to Cathy.
All right, so again, we're really preaching at the county, reduce, reuse, refuse, and then recycle. Recycling is still important. I don't want to give that up. I don't want to discourage it, but I want you to think about it to be the last thing. So think about what you're purchasing. And I'm going to tell a story. When I had this campaign, our little characters and everything kicked off, it came about because I went to spin class one night, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get some hard-boiled eggs for a salad tomorrow. And I bought the pre-hard-boiled eggs from the package. Have you seen them at the grocery store? They come in a clamshell, and they're individually wrapped in, like, plastic film. I felt terrible. The next morning, I was like, oh, my God, what have I done? I have just done, oh, my God. I was looking at all this waste on the counter. Number one, they were really expensive. I could have bought a dozen eggs and hard-boiled them myself. It's really easy to hard-boil an egg. So I was like, ugh. So yeah, just think about what you're purchasing. Again, it's not so easy to recycle, plastic in particular. Is there a better recyclable option? We talked about that. Buy an aluminum can over a plastic bottle or even a glass bottle. Avoid single-use items. Reusable is best. Yeah, these plates, we're going to compost them, and they're going to make back into the soil around here in Pitkin County and the Roaring Fork Valley, but we still have to manage it. It still has to be compost. So grab a bamboo utensil set, bring your own plates to work, bring your own glasses to work. That's the best number one option. Purchase quality. And we didn't really talk about this, but textiles. You know, I've gotten into the point now where I just don't buy that cheap Target t-shirt anymore because washes a few times and it doesn't fit right anymore. Americans generate 80 pounds of discarded textiles and clothing annually, each of us. And if you've cleaned out your closets recently, that whole Marie Kondo thing going around, you know, I cleaned out like 5 bags of clothes, and it was like, oh my God. So, you know, and kitchen items, anything you're buying, I know it costs more, but stuff that'll last you forever. I have a cast iron pan addiction. So, you know, those Lodge cast irons, enamel cast iron, that's going to last you forever. Some cheap aluminum pots and pans, you know, you're going to use them for a few years and then they're going to be trash. And then can it be composted? A lot of things can be. Again, Liz had mentioned, you know, we can't take in a lot of stuff. Wouldn't necessarily recommend food scraps or anything for your backyard compost, but we are a commercial operation that can compost most anything if it grew once. So yeah, think about that when you're buying stuff and when you're disposing of stuff. Liz, you want to click me? Okay, so more information, you know where to find us. We're at, you know, at the landfill. Landfillrules.com is our website. Has a lot of information. We have brochures, which are available in the back of the room. There's brochures also on our website. We have a number of, this brochure also on our website will tell you about a number of our unique diversion programs. We take in textiles, like I mentioned. Books, we recycle books. They go down to a community program down in Boulder who gets them out to low income. Electronics, we have a year-round electronics collection. Mattresses, we now recycle mattresses. So we do a lot. We do whatever we can divert, we divert. And then our composting program. It's set up in all the county buildings, the green bins. I think Evergreen Zero Waste picks it up. Yeah, so you really take advantage of it. And if you start composting at home, you're going to realize how much waste you divert. I have a little garbage bag, and it's mostly plastic film, crummy stuff that can't anything be done with. So yeah. Question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, City Market sells them. You can get them on Amazon. Those are the the green flimsy bags, so you can find them Whole Foods. A lot of retailers now can't carry them.
Can you recycle shredded paper?
Shredded paper goes into the compost system.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, do you guys have smaller containers to compost?
Yeah, so through a 2015 grant we got through the state, it's called our Scraps program. We offer 6.5-gallon buckets with sealing lids, really holds out the odor. And then we have some smaller 2-gallon countertop compost bins. Those are available for free to pick up at the landfill. Yeah. And you can deposit, you can bring your compost bucket or bin to the landfill and drop it for free, or there's a couple curbside services in the valley that'll pick it up at your home. Yeah.
So I have 4 dogs, so I go through quite a bit of dog food, and they're paper bags, but they're lined with like a waxy inner liner.
Yeah, so the dog food bags, the pet food bags, yeah, they look papery, but they're lined with probably, it's most likely a microplastic liner, which is not recyclable or compostable. So a good theme we go with, when in doubt, throw it out. It's not worth getting, because now they're starting to fine people for contamination.
One more thing while I got the mic. I'd like to say it seems like all of this burden is being pushed back to the makers of the waste, right? And so that happens at the individual level, but it seems like the burden of sorting and deciding what goes in which bin where else ends up with my custodial crew, and that shouldn't be their job. I mean, I don't mind them ripping open the plastic bags and dumping them into the right containers, but we don't have the time or the labor to do the sorting ourselves. So if we could, everybody get that word out and try to do the sorting at the station in your office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all put a lot of effort into recycling, and if we contaminate it, it could end up in the trash, and everybody's work was for nothing. Yes? The question is, what about magazines? Magazines are part of our single stream recycling system. They go as mixed paper. So yes, magazines, phone books, all that can be in the recycle system, the single stream system. And on the back table, there are laminated cards with Waste Management's list of stuff they take. So grab one of those, you can put it in the office, hang it on the recycle bin. Yeah, any more? Yes. The question is dog poop. No, dog poop cannot be composted or recycled. Dog poop, it's too many pathogens. So we do screen, we do test our compost in the laboratory, but we don't want to risk any fecal coliform bacteria in the compost. So trash the dog poop. Yes, Melissa.
So we all love Amazon here in the Valley, and we get those little bubble things, and they do have the recycle thing on there, but that's a no-no, right?
That is a no-no. That's a plastic film, and in our system, we cannot take plastic films, plastic bags, plastic film, and that bubble wrap. Before I started with the county 6 years ago, apparently we did collect plastic bags. It stopped before I started. I still get calls probably once a month. Can you take plastic bags? You used to. And I'm like, no. I don't know. There's just no market. Everything's recyclable. You just have to have a market for it. So that's what the driver is. So Amy's saying from Grassroots, MPS. Yeah, pack and ship company here in Aspen. They'll take your used bubble wrap. That's good to know. Yeah. So. Yes, Mary Kate.
At one point, you talked about having a swap shop. Where I'm from in Connecticut, they have a swap shop at all the landfill locations.
Mm-hmm. So what we have at the Pitkin County landfill is called the drop and swap. Right now, it's an outdoor location, and if you have furniture, skis, bikes, anything that's still usable that can weather, because it does sit outside, we'll take it for free. You can come to the landfill and take it. Hopefully in about a year, we'll be transitioning to an indoor facility. So we'll be able to take a lot more. We get a lot of nice couches. It is amazing that people up here, I think businesses will come rent a condo for a few months because they got a big job going on. And then when they're done, they just bring their couch and everything else. And right now we cannot take it for reuse. It has to go to the landfill. So hopefully in about a year, we'll have a nice indoor facility that we can take more stuff. So any more questions? Yes? You know me, I love them. Well, that's what we're here for.
Can you tell us about the like the lifespan on the landfill and sort of what's next for Pitkin County's landfill?
Yeah. Right now, as we sit today, the Pitkin County landfill only has about 5 to 6 years of life left. We throw away a lot of stuff. We tear down a lot of houses in Pitkin County. 58% of our waste being buried is construction and demolition debris. So right now we are working with the state of Colorado to do 2 expansions. So the first expansion, which will come first, will give us about another 5 to 6 years of life. We're working on a southern expansion, which I think is kind of iffy. I don't know yet. It'll add maybe about 40 years of life. But this is all dependent on state approval to allow us to do it. If we cannot get the state to approve it, then we're going to build what the Board of County Commissioners has already sort of given preliminary approval, a transfer station, where we load trash into semi-long haul trucks, trailers, and we ship it to another landfill. You think trash disposal is expensive now. Wait till we're hauling it down to Garfield County at well over $100 a ton. So our goal is to keep our trash in Pitkin County as long as we can. So, yeah. Yes, Ted.
What's the effect of development like 1A on the landfill?
So, in my understanding of 1A, they're tearing stuff down. There's going to be some demolition and rebuilding. The Sky Hotel, which happened a couple years ago, or was even into last year, we saw, 16,000 tons of material come in. That was enough waste for Aspen, all the Aspen residents for like a year. And right now, there's nothing much we can do about it. So we are working on construction and demolition diversion, whether it be an ordinance, working with our community development department, to start diverting things we can already, scrap metal, we can take scrap metal. Concrete, we crush up concrete into an aggregate product. Rock and dirt, we make into soil and a gravel product. So there are things we can already divert. We just need to be able to use the stick and make them do it. So that's probably coming in the next year as well. But yeah, these big demo redevelopment projects are a huge impact.
Back to composting, there was a small sidebar conversation about dog poop that I think would be good to ask in public. Because I make a lot of it, well, not me. Is it really compostable at home, you said?
Yes. Yeah, it is. So basically, we don't want dog poop in the compost. It's really just as sort of an extra be careful measure. But in theory, really, if someone's dog poop snuck in there, the temperatures in the compost are high enough that those pathogens would get killed off. So that's why it's not a huge deal, but we kind of just don't accept it because it's a small percentage of waste and just to be safe. But if you are composting well at home, I'm not saying just throw it in a pile at home. If you know how to build a good compost pile and have layers of nitrogen-rich and carbon-rich material, and that dog poop would be nitrogen-rich, so you would want to layer it with carbon-rich material like leaves and sticks. And if you built a good pile and, did it yourself, yeah, you certainly could compost dog poop or your own poop. People do that. Yeah, lots of people do that actually. Yeah. Yeah.
So what about the things that you can't compost? Is there somewhere on your website that shows, like, for a plastic bag, how long it takes for it to really break down? Because I know it takes a really long time for those things to break down.
Yeah, plastic will stay in the landfill thousands of years.
Way that you could like, is that on your website showing how long it takes per certain items?
No, but that's a good, yeah, that's a good thing to
an
show, 'cause
incentive.
it's pretty eye-opening. We were drilling some test pits a couple years ago in the old waste. The Pitkin County landfill started in the mid-1960s. So we were drilling some old waste. We brought up a newspaper from 1970. It's 49 years old, and you can still read it. So even paper and stuff you think, and food waste. I used to drill landfill gas wells. That was my previous job. We would drill gas wells. You'd bring up Chinese food containers from 10 years ago. It looked like you could still eat it. So you just to go, there's no oxygen in the landfill, and stuff does not break down. So just that big hill when you go to Pitkin County landfill, that's going to be here long, long after we're gone. So, anything else? Any more questions? Well, I want to thank you all for coming. You know where to find us. This is being recorded for those who couldn't make it, so you can rewatch it. It's really, really fascinating. And we're going to do another one of these probably at Health and Human Services in the next few weeks. So you want to rehash or have more questions. But again, give us a call, email me or Liz or anybody at the landfill, and we'll answer your questions. And just remember, recycle right. Thank you. That's right. And everything's compostable, so put all your plates and napkins in the compost bin.